On this episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, I welcome Kelly Griego to the Buck and Honey's remote studios and the Team 212 AEA Institute Mental Health Desk. Kelly shares how he turned the pain of divorce into purpose, using running as a coping strategy and a way to raise money for rare disease research. It's a powerful story of healing, resilience, and helping others. This will be a good one. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is up, wherever you are, whatever you're doing? I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios, recording at the Team 212 and AEA Institute Mental Health Desk on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube at Survive and Thrive 8791. You can follow the podcast and get access to previous episodes on all of those podcasts platforms at Survive and Thrive 8791, the podcast. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the show. Leave me a comment if you like what you heard. If there's a topic or guest who would love to share their story, email me at tdecor@gmail.com. Glad you could join us. Our mission is to share stories and conversations that make you cry, laugh, and think, stimulating emotions, creating laughter, and inspiring the mind. A new episode will air on Monday and Thursday morning featuring a wide range of guests. The podcast will touch on many subjects such as, but not limited to, grief, loss of a loved one, recovery, professional setback, mental illness, success despite challenges, etc. Our guests will share how they learn to survive and thrive. Before I introduce our guest, I'd like to highlight a couple of websites. CoachDecoraLLC.com, where you can book me to come speak to your place of business, school, or group. I absolutely love sharing my story. And SurviveandThrive8791.com. You can see what we are doing and the events we are hosting. If you're a business or an advocate for mental health and recovery, we invite you to partner with us through sponsorship opportunities. Please contact us at surviveandthrive8791@gmail.com. This is our guest and episode intro. And according to the internet, and the internet is always right, correct, Kelly?
Very true.
Very true. Okay, 100 and some guests. I have not had the two words, very true. Maybe always true, but not very true.
Very true.
Well, in my house, I don't need the internet. I don't need Alexa. I don't need Siri. I don't need anything. I got my wife, Sarah, and she is always right.
That helps a lot.
That helps a lot. That helps her a lot. Not me sometimes, but anyway. According to an AI, artificial intelligence overview, divorce affects hundreds of thousands of men in the U.S. each year. Because divorces involve a couple, the roughly 672,000 divorces granted annually directly affect approximately the same number of men, 672,000 men each year. For context, about 30% of husbands file for divorce, meaning a large majority are on the receiving end. Today's guest was one of those 672,000 men. Today, I welcome Kelly Griego to the Buck and Honey's remote studios and the Team 212 AEA Institute Mental Health Desk. Kelly grew up in Mazomanie, Black Earth area of Wisconsin before graduating from Wisconsin Heights High School. After high school, Kelly would take his talents to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where he graduated with a degree in behavioral science and law. Since then, he has worn many hats in his professional career. Today, I'm so glad you could join us. Kelly Griego, what is up?
This is up. Excited to be here. Excited to have this conversation. It's been a great morning. It's just the next step in a great day.
Sun is out. Wind. There's a little bit of wind. It's about 70 degrees. I got to ask you a question just because I got back from Houston, Texas last night, / Austin, Texas, and got out of my car a couple days ago, 102 degrees with humidity down there. Have you ever been to Texas?
I have. I've done a race down there. It was sticky, hot. It was May, so it wasn't as bad as now, but yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, and I was telling some people down there where you from, and they noticed my accent. I said I'm from Wisconsin. Oh, what's the temperature? What's the weather like up there? And I said, yeah, it's like 60 some degrees and sunny, and it's supposed to be like that this weekend. So I think we get some good weather.
Yep.
Speaking of weather, how has the beginning of the summer treated you so far?
It's been great. Been spending a lot of time outside, a lot of time putting some miles on my feet. But, I made a very conscious decision this year. I can't complain about how much I hate the winters if I'm not going to take full advantage of the summer and the spring and when it's nice out. And so I've just been making it a point to enjoy it, to be outside as much as I can.
Do you enjoy the 5 seasons of Wisconsin? Fall, winter, spring, summer, and construction season?
Well, yeah. Well, that, and I always joke that, we were in our 3rd or 4th spring, a month ago, when it would be nice, and then it would be cold, and then it'd be sleet, and then it'd be nice. And so, yeah, I think we're officially past that and actually enjoying summertime.
Any plans for the summer coming up here?
Just a lot of running, but we have some kids going off to college. So a big trek out to Boston to move in one daughter, but then just added another trip where we're bringing another one back, coincidentally from Boston, because he's moving back home to be back in the area, which is great. So it's maybe not an even exchange or an exchange that we saw coming, but we're happy to have it just to be a little bit closer, but also bittersweet to say goodbye to the other one.
Quite ironic that if you're watching on either YouTube or Spotify, I've got my Boston Red Sox hat on today.
See that?
And then I also have my Aerosmith. Guys were from the Boston area. I didn't plan that, but it's
worked out.
Rather interesting. Well, before we get to your story, I need to talk about our sponsor. Our sponsor, Buck and Honey's Restaurants, are a place that people can escape to. For me, it's a great escape from cooking dinner. Do you cook, Kelly? And if so, genre, style, or cuisine? I'm a foodie. Let her rip.
I love it all. I think my go-to lately that I'm pretty proud of is a carbonara. Homemade sauce. Get the guancala.
Red sauce, right?
No, it's a homemade. It's an egg yolk and Romano cheese, and you just use that yolk with the Romano and pasta water to make the sauce.
All right, maybe I just stuck my foot in my mouth. So carbonara, explain what that is then for the crowd here.
Classic Italian dish.
Okay.
It's usually done with spaghetti. So you make your pasta on one side. You use carbonara if you can't get to that.
Fresh pasta?
Yeah, if you can get it. I mean, I'll make pasta. We can do that at home. But you want a good pasta that's going to have a lot of starch in the water, because it's that water that you're using
as a thickening agent.
Yep, with the cheese and the egg yolk to just make that beautiful sauce with the extra salty pork. Yeah, it's a great dish.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this next part because my mouth is watering right now. Well, with their great food and drink menu, 5-star customer service, and a welcoming, vibrant atmosphere, people keep coming back. With locations in Sun Prairie, Monona, Waunakee, and Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, most communities in Dane County, which encompasses the Madison metropolitan area, can get to a Buck and Honey's within 10 to 15 minutes. Drum roll on my Menards acoustically sound table. Menards. You can jump on board anytime you want. A little vibrato in there. Mm-hmm. Have you been to Buck and Honey's? And if so, where?
I have. Monona.
Yeah. What do you think? I've posed this question. When you walked into Monona for the first time, does it look like 5-star?
It does. A vacation spot.
5-star is, I was at the soft opening. I walked in. I'm like, dang, this is a nice restaurant. And usually when you got 5-star looks, you're going to pay for, and they have 5-star food, and you're going to think you're going to pay 5-star prices, but you don't. Mm-hmm. It's like 2-star prices. It's not like a $35 burger. It's very reasonable, and that's what I've liked. Well, what's your favorite dish there?
Well, they also have the 5-star patio sitting outside by the
patio.
Water. It's amazing out there.
You can get there a number of ways: car, boat, walk, run, maybe in your case, horseback. I've not seen any horseback there, but what's your favorite dish? Do you have one?
I'm a wing guy. I can never go wrong ordering some wings, and I've certainly enjoyed some there.
Okay, we've talked about carbonara and wings. I'm going to have a tough time getting through this because I haven't eaten yet. I'm on a little bit of a fast right now.
Okay.
Put on a few LBs in Houston, so we'll see what happens. On the podcast, our guests follow the format for sharing their story like this. In segment 1, from the Team 212 AEA Institute Mental Health Disc, we talk about what was it like, Kelly's history, what happened to get Kelly on the podcast. And in segment 2, we continue to talk about what happened and get into what it's like now. And we discuss Kelly's 5 suggestions for thriving. Before we get started, I want to welcome our mental health desk sponsor, Bill Friedig and the Team 212 and the AEA Institute to the podcast. I want to start with a question. What if your best years are still ahead? Well, Bill Friedig at Team 212 Training partnered with the AEA Institute. That's why we're working with Team 212 Training and the AEA Institute to build the mind and body for lasting health and well-being. A real retirement strategy, mental performance, resilience, recovery. Learn more about the AEA Institute at www.aea-neuro-fitness-academy.com. Try to say that 5 times as fast as you can.
Couldn't.
I struggled through it with one. Okay. What was it like and what happened? So you were born in northern Wisconsin. I'm intrigued by where. And then you grew up in the Mazomanie, Black Earth, Wisconsin area, which sometimes, maybe I'll refer to Mazo and Black Earth.
Fair.
Those two communities are located about 30 minutes west of Madison. And you graduated from Wisconsin Heights High School. And I'm assuming you're a proud Vanguard. Mm-hmm. Tell us about what life was like growing up.
I was born in Rhinelander, so small.
Oh yeah, Hodag.
Somewhat of a metropolis. Once you get so far north, born there, that was the nearest hospital to Crandon, and that's where I grew up. I still have cousins, family, uncles up there. So I was there until about second grade, and my father actually got a job in Mazomanie, working just on the general public works. Mm-hmm. So it was him and 3 or 4 other men that kind of kept the town running, whether it was keeping the power on through the thunderstorms, plowing the roads, working in the sewage plant. He was just out and about all the time. So that brought us down to Mazomanie. It's a small town. I think they have a stoplight now. That's pretty exciting. It certainly comes with all the small town things that so many of us know growing up in Wisconsin and having ties to it, but it was a good town. I'm thankful that it was in a place like that. I feel like there's a lot of things that I've gotten to reflect on that, there's certainly some mindsets and some mental health growth to go through when you come from some small places that can have some small minds, and being able to reflect and think of where I could have gone and where I ended up. It's nice to have that kind of juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. And then you would go from small town to big time, going from maybe 225, 230 kids in the whole high school.
Yeah, I graduated with 66.
Yeah, 66 times 4. Around 220, 240 some, if I did my math correct. And then you would go to the University of Wisconsin, where you might have 400 kids in one class.
Yeah.
Let's back up though for a second. What were some of your favorite memories growing up and going to school, Wisconsin Heights High School?
Yeah, there's so many things that you can do in a small town that you just can't get away with in the city. Whether it was, climbing out of a bedroom window to go walk around at night and, just kind of be out walking around. It wasn't making trouble. It was just making fun. And, it'd be maybe a little cat and mouse with the local police. We weren't destroying property and doing anything terrible, but just kind of out exploring. It gave a lot of freedom. We had a lot of space. Mm-hmm. It was always kind of a rite of passage to learn how to ride a bike. And because then it just expanded the whole town, and maybe even to some friends that have houses outside of town or farms, or, just open up the space and just go. And this was the time when, be home before sundown, street lights are on, where are your kids? That was the life we had. It was great. It really just let you make a lot of your own fun.
And then you were involved in a lot of sports. Mm-hmm. Any sports memories to think of?
Yeah, I did about everything. I enjoyed participating in sports, and whether that started with Little League, and basketball was always my go-to. So there would always be a summer camp down at the Mazo Park that was just put on locally, and just a good opportunity to play. Or whether I lived right across the street from the elementary school in Mazo, and so I would go there, and there's always somebody playing basketball or something after school. So that, being outside and active was just the normal thing to do.
Hone those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also fall in love with it, and get the opportunity to play against people that you normally wouldn't, just because you just played with whoever was there, whether they were older, younger. It didn't matter. You just wanted to play.
Tell us about your family. You've already mentioned your dad, but if you want to go back to him as well, mom, dad, and some siblings. Tell us,
Yep.
spin some yarns about them.
Yeah. So mom and dad, I was the youngest child of three.
The baby.
I was the baby. I still am the baby, and I think my mom will forever deem me that. But it was nice. I mean, we had a relatively good a good family life at home. It was relatively normal. It's not like we had a ton, but we didn't really go without. When I was younger, we also learned that I had some half siblings, and so the oldest sibling is my sister. Two older sisters that are both half siblings, and they've always been a part of my life as well. So it was a surprise to learn it being little, but then it was really normalized, and having them around here and there. I'm still really close with one of them, and the other one's been exciting this last year. Her twin sons, both got married, and so going up and being a part of those. And so, yeah, the family life was all great.
You have a family of your own. Tell us about them.
I do. I have my wife, Megan, and
by the way, this is like the second or third husband-wife tandem we've had on, because we had Megan on a few episodes ago, and we've got the other half.
Yeah.
Some might say better half.
Sure. Sure, I won't argue with that. But so Megan and I guess we've been married now 2016, 10 years. We brought together our children to be this blended family. So I have a son who just finished his first year of college. Megan's daughter just graduated from high school. And then I have a high school junior, just finished junior year, going to be a senior in high school. So it's a busy time, and being a dad, being a bonus dad, it's exciting, especially in these teenage years when you can really start to get into some good conversations.
I suppose you're kind of doing this a little bit on the side when nobody's looking, like that little fist pump, because you got the empty nest coming up here.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, this is one of the things that's always been an interesting positive of having a divorce, being from a divorced previous marriage is, it was 50-50. And so having time without the children was kind of a norm. And it was actually, I feel, a benefit to the new relationship that Megan and I built, because, we did have this kind of date week versus not. And it took a little bit to get there at first. The schedules were a little more blended, but then COVID happened and we switched to a week schedule on and off with the kids, and it was the same week. And so we were able to have our quote unquote date week, and then a week with all five of us. So we've had bits and pieces of it. So it's nice. We're more looking forward to finding ways to go see them and whatever adventures they go off to next.
After high school, you would take your talents to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, just down Highway 14, where you would graduate with a degree in behavioral science and law. Did you always want to be a Badger, or did you have other suitors for your talents?
I was actually accepted to UW La Crosse first. I was super excited to go there because that's where most of my friends were going. But, you had to apply to Madison just because that's where you wanted to go. I mean, you grow up small town Wisconsin, UW is kind of the biggest thing related to schools. So when I got that acceptance letter, there was no hesitation.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the University of La Crosse.
None.
I mean, I've heard of people get into La Crosse but can't get into Madison, which probably, and I've also heard of some people get into Madison but they didn't get into La Crosse. I don't know how that works out, but still very good schools. After college, you would start your professional career, but what really motivates you is your work outside of work. Talk about some of the things that you've done professionally, because a lot of the things you're going to talk about today are outside of your day-to-day routine, but talk about some of the stuff you do professionally during your 40-hour work week.
Yeah. I mean, early on, I started as a financial advisor. I really was driven just to help people. And that was a great start to that. And then that just transitioned into the corporate world. And so I spent time, working on deferred compensation plans for executives. Again, a little bit of a niche market, but it was, exciting to have that component of help to it. But then I really got a bunch of things happened that I'm sure we'll talk about, and I really wanted to go down a path of leadership. And so I started pursuing that as an opportunity. I jumped ship on the corporate job and took a pay cut to go become a manager at a credit union here in town. And that was everything I wanted it to be, from leadership learning, and I'd already been doing some coaching on the side. and then being able to take that back to the corporate world and just grow and progress from a people leader standpoint, from helping work on operational excellence and process improvement and growing your team. All those things excited me, and things that I'm always want to be a part of.
You're going to talk about some fundraising efforts that you're currently doing a little bit later, but sometimes that starts somewhere where somebody asks you, hey, you want to jump in and do this with me? Well, yeah, sure. Or maybe you've always had a passion for wanting to help others. What are some of the things that you started out doing outside of the workday? So punch that clock, you're done at 5 o'clock. What were some of those outside things that you started that got you to loving the stuff you do outside of your workday?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is I started running. Somebody at work asked if I wanted to do a race. I'm like, okay. And I bought a heart rate monitor, and on the way home from work, I put together a half marathon training plan, and I went and ran 4 miles, and I'd never run that far in my life. And saying yes to that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because as I got more involved with that, it gave me the opportunity to talk with more people about running that were excited to talk about it. And, so it gave me the space to just grow in a way that had nothing to do with work. It had nothing to do with being a dad. It had nothing to do with being a husband. And that led to the opportunity when somebody asked me if I would run a race with a blind athlete. And that was probably one of the biggest forks in the road for me in turning something that I loved in running into a way to give something back. And that made all the sense in the world to me in getting posed with that question and immediately saying yes, and not even knowing that was a thing. Because when I was being asked in that moment, it was a very ignorant moment, because I didn't even think that blind people could run, let alone do a race. And then it opened all these windows and thoughts, and I was all in. And I never wanted to hear of somebody not being able to do a race because they couldn't find somebody to do it with.
So there might be, hopefully there's hundreds of people that are listening right now, maybe thousands, but maybe in that group there's about 4 or 5 people that, you know what, I want to do that. How did that all come about? Where is there a group? Is there a website where you can sign up and say, check that box, I'm willing to help somebody who is blind or has a disability? Is there somewhere where they can go?
Yeah, there's lots of groups that I have become a part of over time that I'm involved with now or know people associated with those groups. And so there are a lot. And I would encourage anybody, find me, look me up, and I'd be happy to point you in a direction to find those groups, because there's always a need, and there's places that need can go to a lot of good.
Well, I'm going to need to make sure I drop in an email or website that you have, or whatever your contact information, because if there's somebody who wants to do this kind of work, and there are people who need that kind of help and that want to run, the disability shouldn't get in the way if there's something that you have a passion for. And maybe somebody had an accident and they were a runner before and now they can't run, or they can't see, but they still want to do it. There shouldn't be anything that should impede them from doing that.
Yep.
As I mentioned earlier in some of the data I shared, you were one of the estimated 672,000 people each year to get divorced. It happens, but from my experience talking with folks who have gone through a divorce, either somebody I just met or a loved one or a good friend, each situation is different. The reason for, the how comes, the whys, and the breakdown of the marriage or whatever. What would you like to share about your previous marriage and how that all worked out? Because if there, again, is somebody listening because they see divorce as the title of your episode, and they're here to find out, am I going through the same thing? Am I experiencing the same thing? What did that look like for you?
I think it looks like a lot of things. For me, what I didn't know and didn't recognize, kind of as things are progressing and unhappiness is there, as sadness is there, is just the ability to name it and to really understand and know what's going on with you, because you're trying to be a professional, you're trying to be a dad, you're trying to be a spouse, you're trying to do all of these things that you're supposed to do. And so things get normalized. Having a level of sadness, I think I was very aloof, just always very medium and not up, not down, not really decisive, not taking action. It was just more going through the motions and not even knowing it.
And going through, I'm just thinking as you were talking about that, of just even keel, you're going down the river of life, and it's really calm and you're just going with the flow. But then all of a sudden, maybe you don't see the little rapids that perks up, and then the bigger rapids and the waterfall that are coming. And were you prepared for any of those rapids of life or the waterfalls?
I would say no. I mean, I really wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, my father and mother were both divorced previously, but I never experienced that. We were always one family as I knew it. And so I knew it was a thing, but not ever having experiencing it. So I didn't. A lot of it was just thinking that this is how life is. This is, this is how marriage is. This is how you keep moving forward, and, you keep doing the things you do to maybe get a better house, bigger house, better cars, whatever it may be. And you just kind of keep following this plan that was never really a thought out plan. It was more of what it was supposed to be.
You mentioned counseling as a way to work through your marriage, and I've heard of couples, either whether they're married or they're not married, but they want to work through some of their differences, and bringing in kind of a mediator or a marriage counselor to come in and kind of hear both sides and then interject when they need to. And then eventually, the divorce, you still leaned on the counseling. How did that all come about with the counselor?
It was a decision by my children's mother. She thought we should go to couples counseling, and I agreed to do it. I had some experiences with some family counseling young, but nothing significant. And so I was open to it, and we went. And for me, it wasn't necessarily a reconciliation or, the opportunity to bring us closer together or bring things back. It was really my opportunity to learn that this is a great resource. And the couples counselor had mentioned us doing our own therapy. I think I signed up that day to meet with a therapist on my own that was just my therapist, that was dedicated to me and not to us. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, to find this neutral person. Not that the couples therapist wasn't neutral, but just, it was just me and him.
And maybe coming out of that, you started to see who you were, or how did that, what started coming out of that individual counseling?
I always say that every meeting I had with him, I would leave with this great question that he asked. To me, it was all about perspective and gaining a perspective that I didn't have, because either I wasn't capable of it, I've never thought that way, I didn't reflect that way, I didn't, challenge myself in that way. I was probably too easy on myself and not asking myself the hard questions. And he wasn't afraid to, and he would. And every time it just opened my eyes wider and wider to realize all the things that I'd just been missing within myself. And that was the other great thing about therapy, is it really had nothing to do with my children's mother. It was totally about me, because in my eyes, that's where the issue was. I mean, she can do and choose and go the directions that she feels are best for her. This was for me. I needed to do that, and I needed to have that support. And he was a great therapist that I credit for a lot of good.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, because there are people that either are on a treadmill or in their car driving to work or listening out in the backyard, enjoying some of the sun, and they're asking Coach Decora, ask him a question. What was one of the questions that your therapist or counselor asked you that made you think, aha, or gave you that look inside that really helped you make some decisions?
There was a time when I laughed at myself after he asked me this question, because it was funny to think of the simplicity of it. there's this period of time when we were trying to reconcile or seeing if it would work or seeing if it wouldn't. And, I started to realize that that things were going to end and I was going to make that decision. But I kept thinking that I had to convince her that that's what she wanted to do. And so I was explaining this to Ron, that was my therapist's name, and he just looks at me and he says, "Do you need her permission?" And I just had to laugh because, you don't. But in my mind, I thought maybe if I could convince her or talk her into it or whatever, that, that helped make me, a good guy. Or maybe I wasn't a bad guy for choosing to end things, or, something along those lines. And the fact of the matter is that I didn't need anybody's permission to do it. I just needed to do it.
That's a good spot to end on here, the first segment. And we're going to get to more of some of the other things that you did back then and what you're doing now, which is truly inspiring. You've already inspired me about taking a person who was blind running. That's very inspiring, and I'm hoping you're going to inspire somebody that's listening right now. But because our listeners want to hear the rest of your story and what brought you to the podcast, even though we dove into a little bit of that, I need to talk about our sponsor one more time. Buck and Honey's has been with the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew since the beginning, with 4 locations in the Madison area. One is always near. People ask why Buck and Honey's. Owner Tom Anderson places a high priority on the mental health of his employees. He has a mental health professional available for them should they need support. I don't know how many businesses go above and beyond their EAP, Employee Assistance Program, but Buck and Honey's does. And Survive and Thrive for Life. Bill Friedig with Team 212 Training and the AEA Institute. That's why we are working with Team 212 Training and the AEA Institute. We help you build mental strength and physical health that lasts. Explore MindFit Academy and start training your mind for the long run at www.aea-neuro-fitness-academy.com. Kelly Griego is in the Buck and Honey's remote studios today to talk about how he survived a divorce and is thriving since. But it wasn't easy. With the help of counseling and his work outside of work, he is living his best life. He is here to tell us what happened and to share his story on how to navigate divorce. Please stay tuned. Don't change that channel. You're not going to want to miss segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. We will be back.
If you, a loved one, or someone you know is experiencing a physical, mental, or emotional crisis, there is help and resources out there. Contact NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline, at 1-800-950-6264. This is a free service providing information, resource referrals, and support to people living with a mental illness, their family, providers, and the public. United Way 211 is available 24/7, 365, and offers free confidential assistance. They connect people with the local programs and services that can help. Dial 211. Emergency Crisis Services, dial 911. The Suicide Prevention Lifeline, dial 988. To connect via web, chat, visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Along with those numbers, there is help. You just need to say 3 words. I need help. Now, back to the show.
We are back. Welcome back to segment 2 of Survive and Thrive 8791. I'm your host, Coach Tim Decora. We are in the Buck and Honey's remote studios on the east side of our great capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. The podcast is where we feature guests who share their story in hopes of helping others who may be struggling with what life throws at them. Today, I'm glad to be joined at the Team 212 AEA Institute Mental Health Desk by Kelly Griego. He is here to talk about how he navigated divorce and found a new partner after. You'll hear the rest of his story and how he has been able to navigate life. When divorce happens, or when anything in a relationship, whether it's good friends, whether it's a divorce, a marriage, coworkers, whatever, and something comes to an end, during that time or even after, mental health problems or issues can start to, come in. And even if you've got a happy marriage, those things can come in. Anxiety and depression entered your mental health picture as you were moving through your first marriage. Talk about what you were experiencing with those two, because they're kind of on polar opposites a little bit. One kind of gets you a little ramped up, and the other one gets you very ramped down. Mm-hmm. Talk about what you were experiencing.
I was a lot of ramped down. I mean, I think most of my depression was really a lot of sadness. And I'm an introvert. And
rightfully so. You're sad that something's coming to an end.
Absolutely.
Or going to end.
Yep. And being an introvert, it's easy to just take these things and keep them to yourself and just be alone with them, which obviously we need that time, but it can't be all the time. And so I was really alone. And it was my doing. It was my choice to be in that position. And so I chose that. But what I didn't do very well is get out of that alone, that lonely space, that sadness. And so it was easy to just stay in it and, turn to some of the friends that were available to go do things that were more mindless and meaningless, whether that's watching a game and having some drinks or, just relatively coping, but not really handling. And I just, I needed to keep going to therapy to get past that sadness and find ways to have positive connections with people.
Sounds like you said this word a little earlier, normalize. Mm-hmm. You were normalizing your sadness and depression until, did your counselor help you shine a light on that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And how did that look in his description of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't think of a specific example, but it's just always, again, changing that perspective and getting those good questions that were challenging. And everything that he did, and I try to implement this even now, it was taking those perspectives and moving it to action. And that's what he was really good at, in challenging me to go out and do something, challenge me to find friends that are doing positive things. And I was fortunate enough to have great friends nearby that fit those buckets and fit those roles. And it really had me turning to them as well to move my healing on past just the professional relationship and move it into the personal side, which was really, I feel, the next great step in me moving forward, was being able to have real people, not that therapists aren't real people, but real people that are in your life that love you and are there to support you, and letting them do that.
We're going to go a little out of order here because I want to stick with the kind of what you were experiencing. So since the show has a mental health component to it, what were you experiencing? So if somebody is depressed right now and they don't go to counseling, but you know what, maybe they listen to podcasts, what were you experiencing in those down points of, tell us what you were going through.
Yeah. I mean, I had moved out of the condo that we jointly owned just to make some space, because coming home from work and being in the space of trying to manage through the separation, it was just a thick, heavy cloud, and it wasn't helping me. And I wanted to do what was best for me, but then also hopefully what was best for the kids at home and even their mother, and making that space. And so I was living at my parents'. So here I was in my mid-30s, crashing on a spare room in my parents' house. And, they were obviously a great support, but, laying in that bed at night, just looking at the bag that I had packed, that, I was going to be unpacking to be there for a couple days before going back home, or, waking up the next morning to go get the kids out of bed and get them ready for school. It was tough. And, it was a loneliness that I really sat with a lot in being there. And that was, when it's not the picture that you had for yourself, it's not what you thought. I never thought that I would spend a year in a spare bedroom at my parents' house at that time in my life. And so it was just more of that isolation. It was more of that, loneliness and sadness. As great as it was to have them around, and I mean, that was a great time to have some good moments with my mom and dad. And so I'm grateful for that. But then, the pride and what you wanted to do and accomplish just all seems to come crashing down, and reconciling that I chose that. And that was a tough moment to work through.
In addition to the counseling, you were doing something that has helped, or that was helping you cope. And you already mentioned it. You talked about this thing, you started experiencing stillness, but maybe you had a little reframe some things. You were experiencing stillness. You might have been experiencing stillness when you were depressed, but now you reframed it, and that stillness now became maybe a little bit of strength, quieting your mind and really allowing yourself to reflect. And you had to maybe reframe that. Now this is a good thing that I can reflect on. Mm-hmm. What was helping you do that?
It was movement. Movement became my medicine. Get out and run. I don't run with headphones. I never started that way. I don't do it now. And having this time where my body is working, but my mind is just free to roam and free to be clear and let whatever thoughts or ideas come, or rethink of conversations that I had with Ron and his questions and his reframing. It was just a time and opportunity that I really learned how to enjoy being alone. And it's just me and the road and nature and thoughts, and it became this meditation for me. Like I don't sit and meditate, but I feel just about any time I go out there for a run, that's the opportunity for my mind to be free and see where my thoughts goes. And I have my best ideas that come to me when I'm out there running, and it gets me more motivated to keep doing more things to help make this place better.
I do a lot of walking, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that do a lot of running or walking or both. And it just got me to thinking that, you know what, maybe the next week, instead of strapping on some headphones or putting the earbuds in while I'm walking, I maybe listen to the cars drive by, tires on the pavement, or when there's a break in the traffic, now I can hear the birds singing. Because for a long time in my own anxiety and probably some depression, it took, getting sober for me and then addressing my anxiety where I can start to hear the birds now. It's amazing. And I'm going to ask you a quick question. Have you ever, I'm sure you have, run with headphones on and then you don't usually, or now, or maybe you never did? Talk about the difference.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I've run with headphones on is when I would do some laps at my previous employer, running 10 miles inside and, doing hundreds of laps. You need a little something. I mean, even on Thursday when I was doing something similar to that, they had music going in the background at the gym, so that helped. But not outside, never outside. I just love all the sounds, and I also love having my senses, one for safety. I'm running in Madison a lot. There's a lot of streets, and I want to be able to see and hear and minimize my opportunity of getting hurt if somebody's not paying attention, because there's certainly been enough of those close encounters. But it's more what I realize that I'm picking up from just the world around me when my ears are open, that I just love it.
I'm going to challenge the listeners to do this and to respond in the comments somewhere. And I haven't done this before, but I think this is a great opportunity, is those of you that are runners or walkers, set the phone down or bring the phone in case of safety, but leave the earbuds or the headphones, leave those back for the next week and go walk, go run, and see what that does for you. And from listening to Kelly talk, I think you're going to be, if you're open-minded, you're going to learn a few things, mm-hmm. or hear a few things that you otherwise wouldn't, and then drop how that worked out for you in the comments below, because I'd be interested in seeing how that works.
Well, for me, the challenge and what I love about it is when I have run with headphones on a treadmill or inside, really the intent of it is a distraction. It's a distraction from the discomfort that's coming from working out. And the huge change that I've had as I've increased miles and I'm, doing longer and longer races, is I look for the discomfort, and that finding that discomfort and realizing I'm okay. I can keep going. Yes, it's uncomfortable. I recognize that, but it's not stopping me. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the last couple of years as I try to keep going farther and do bigger things in my efforts to raise more money.
Well, we're going to talk about how we can get people to help, but I want to go visit the divorce and the feelings and all that one more time. Was there a point in your life when you started to believe that things were going to be all right, you were going to be all right? Was there a point? Was it the day you signed the papers, the day it was finalized, a week after? You tell the listeners, was there a point when you were like, all right, I turned the corner and I'm going to be okay now?
Yeah, I would say it was the end of 2013. The divorce process, separation process started probably February. And it was then that I moved in with my parents. And I was doing a back and forth where I basically through the whole week I was at my parents' house, but when it was my days with the children, I'd go and wake them up, get them ready for school, pick them up at school, bring them home, put them to bed, and then head back to my parents' house. But then every other weekend I got to stay in the condo with them. And it was December that their mother had moved into her own place. And, being able to come back to that condo, and it was just the three of us for the first time. And, that was going to be how it was going to be. And that was a big turning point. And a lot of things had changed with me along that time, and having great friends and sharing yoga with them and having and knowing who my real support group were. That 9-10 months of having them in my life really helped get to that point. But that was a solidifying moment when it felt a little bit like the other side.
And I suppose there was a time, though, where you had to get used to that.
Yeah.
And then that aha moment occurred where this is how it's going to be.
It was all new. And, as exciting as it was to have, to know that every decision in this household that's made is mine, is as freeing as it was, there's also, you got these little people that you're responsible for. And so you do have some self-doubt that, can I really do this as a single dad? And, am I equipped to do it? Are they going to be okay? And it's always thinking of, what about them? But, again, one of the things that their mother and I very much agreed on was they went to therapy as well at their young ages. And I credit their therapist with being able to really find as best ways as possible, given the situation, to move forward, and giving us the tools. And I always hung my hat on no surprises, because that was one of the biggest things the therapist recommended. And so all those little nuances from all these professionals, all these friends, they were all little aha moments along the way that really, by the time that December came, I felt probably as prepared as I could be before jumping in.
Well, I'm going to offer up some congratulations here, because you've had some kids that are graduated, off to college, one soon to be graduating from high school, and they've gone through something just like the parents did. So congratulations for getting through that. And I don't know your ex-wife, but congratulations to her too, as well, because she certainly has a part in this, getting some young human beings through this tough situation. So good for the both of you. Let's talk about what Kelly Griego is doing now. You are doing some training for a fundraising event. Talk about that and where people can donate if they have heard your story, inspired, and where can they, if they've got some extra money laying around, how can I help this guy out?
Yeah, August 1st and August 2nd, I'm doing a 100-mile, I don't really call it a race because I won't be racing per se. I'll be moving, and they give me 36 hours to finish. In 2016, I started doing fundraising for, my best friend growing up, Kyle, his son at the age of 8. His son Eli is the same age as our daughter Emmy, and he was diagnosed with a super rare disease. 1 in 2 million kids are diagnosed with it, and it's kids that the diagnosis happens. It's a disease that it's such that good tissue and joints can turn into bone, and it can be really debilitating. But it's also a genetic disease, so it's on a scale. And because this is not there's not a lot of kids that have it. There's not a lot of people that know about it. The day that they got the diagnosis for Eli, he called me and said that they're going to start doing some fundraising to find a cure. And funny enough, universe enough, that morning I had signed up to do the Ironman in 2017. And I said, well, I already got a race picked out and paid for, so I'm on board. And ever since then, any race that I've done, I've either done it in the service of acting as a guide for blind athletes or helping a young autistic man run marathons, pushing and pulling people who physically can't do races, or I fundraise. And when it comes to fundraising, I keep trying to do bigger, bolder things. I realize that if I'm doing something big that can seem relatively impossible, that people are a little more encouraged to donate. I have a fundraising website that goes right through the foundation, right through the organization. They're a nonprofit. Everything is tax deductible that's donated. The organization is called the IFOPA, and they're found on all social medias. I'm very easy to find at Kelly Griego. If you search up the name, all my profiles are pretty wide open. I have all the links for donating in there. I'm always looking for partners to give some local companies some credit in supporting my cause. And, there's a gym I worked out at, and on Thursday I was in the gym. I ran for 9 straight hours in the gym. I did over 1,200 laps, ran over 44 miles just to keep going. And I was plugging the gym, Metabolic. They were great to me and great in opening up their doors. On Thursday, we raised about $1,400. And that goes. My goal is $10,000, just because it seemed like a nice round number that went with the 100-mile race. And it's been great. I mean, doing these things and giving them back has become my purpose. And I can't live without it.
Dude, you already inspired me earlier, and now I'm just like I told my last guest. I'm looking around here. Is there some drywall I can run through right now? Because I am. And I'm guarantee you hopefully inspired a couple people out there that are going to start looking up Kelly Griego, find his social media accounts, hit him up on Facebook, and there's got to be, I'm going to guess there's a donate button or how to donate. Get this guy some money. He's doing it for a great cause. Now we're going to go backwards a little bit because I'm sure there's somebody that's holding their hands. Keep your hands at 10 and 2, everybody. And they're wondering, Coach, ask him what the disease is, the one in, what'd you say, a lot of million?
1 in 2 million.
1 in 2 million. What is the disease?
The acronym is FOP, but it's fibrodysplasia ossification progressivo. That's my best, and I probably didn't nail it, but that's the best I got for it.
And
FOP.
I'm gonna try to nail IFOPA, and that's the International Fibrodysplasia Ossificans Progressiva Association. And your role is a person who is a fundraiser doing events to raise money for IFOPA. I had never heard of this, and that's what I love about when I bring a guest on who you and I had met, and we broke bread at lunch or breakfast one day, and we've talked on the phone. But I didn't know this about you, and this is what I love about doing the podcast is I learned some things that I didn't know before, and again, thank you so much for that. So make sure we donate to Kelly Griego's causes because it's coming up here. We're shooting in the middle of June, and he's got about another month and a half to add some money to the coffers, and it's going to a great, great cause. This is where the subscribers, followers, and listeners take out the notebooks, pens, and pencils and jot some things down. Here are Kelly Griego's 5 suggestions that have allowed him to survive and thrive while working through a divorce and also moving on through that divorce and doing some great things. Here's what you shared, and I'm going to toss these in underhand softball style. Can you hit a softball?
I think so.
Ooh, there was a little...
I don't remember the last time I touched the bat.
Okay, well, I'm going to do the proverbial, and I'm going to pitch it in. I'm going to try to hit the bat.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So I'm going to have you hit these in about 60 seconds or less, and we'll start at number 1. So here's what you shared. Number 1, therapy, a trusted outside partner. Go ahead and hit that. 60 seconds or less.
You need that neutral person, and having them be a professional just sets you up to start building and accumulating that toolbox that you need for yourself. They're great at it. It's pretty amazing when you just let go and allow somebody the opportunity to just truly help you. I know whether it's a guy thing or an ego thing, you think you're letting go, but the things that you get back by opening that space to a professional it's huge.
And either they have lived experiences, or they're working with so many people who share what's worked for them, and then now they can share that with you. Good stuff. Therapy. Number 2, true friends that will hold you accountable. Go ahead and hit that.
You need people to call you out on your shit. I think it's, we have the stories that we tell ourselves, and when you're telling those stories to your friends and they give you that look and they tell you you're full of shit, that matters.
I'm calling BS on that one.
Calling BS, shenanigans. If they're going to sit there and just yes, you're never going to change. You're never going to learn. You're never going to go forward. And you need the friends that say it as it is.
Find them, go back to them, get some friends in your program and listen to them. And the ones that call you out on your shit or say things that you don't want to hear, but you need to hear it. Number 3, be active in some way. Go ahead and hit that.
Action. I chose running, that sort of movement. It doesn't have to be weights. It doesn't have to be yoga. It can be whatever it needs to be. Maybe it's just walking the dog every day. Maybe it's flying a kite. It doesn't matter. I think just getting outside and being active outside is its own form of therapy, and being out in space really makes a huge difference.
You already alluded to this, and I was going to say it earlier, but movement is medicine. And I've heard that one before, and you alluded to it. So good stuff. Number 4, meditation or time spent out of distraction where your mind can be still and quiet. Go ahead and hit that.
That's what I talked about with running, no headphones. We can find easy ways to distract ourselves, remove the distraction, and just let whatever comes in, come in. Let your mind be free. Be quiet. Let your mind make the noise in thought and ideas and self-reflection. Just let your mind go. Remove these things that take away from that.
That is good stuff. Number 5, give away your passion or volunteer. Go ahead and hit that.
There's so many places that need help. And, I've always tried to find a way to give, and running was my passion, and I've made, helping blind athletes and raising money to be my purpose with that passion and trying to use it. We all have the ability to do that. It doesn't have to be running. There's a million different ways that we can find a way to give, and there's plenty of organizations that are looking for volunteers. Just get involved with something that's bigger than you.
What an episode. I'm so glad you could join the Survive and Thrive 8791 crew today. Your approach to life and how you've managed to navigate life after going through relationship issues and now helping others is inspiring. Your story about divorce is going to inspire somebody to, hopefully reach out to counseling, try to repair things or try to move on. I mean, you've given them a lot of other things to think about if they haven't. And, by sharing your story today, not only, I'm going to guess, has it helped you a little bit today, but it's going to help someone else who is going through this stuff right now that they don't do therapy, but they're listening to the podcast. Maybe they'll go to therapy or they'll do something to help them, just like you did to cope. Our call to action, Kelly Griego just shared his story and how he is living his best life despite what life has thrown at him. He has a great outlook on life, and there's not much that can slow this guy down. Even running in a gym for, I think I saw 82,000 steps or something, or maybe it was more than that, but yeah, I was pretty impressed. He wanted to share his story and bring awareness to some of the work he is doing now for others. Here are Kelly Griego's 5 suggestions that have allowed him to survive and thrive. Number 1, therapy, a trusted outside partner. Number 2, true friends that will hold you accountable. Number 3, be active in some way. Number 4, meditation or time spent out of distraction where your mind can be still and quiet. And number 5, give away your passion or volunteer. Final thoughts as we close another great episode of Survive and Thrive 8791. Are there any final thoughts? Kelly Griego.
I think my biggest final thought is move towards the discomfort. Try to find a way being comfortable, being uncomfortable. It works in relationships. It works at work. It's helped me a ton in trying to do these athletic things and run long distances. Don't avoid discomfort. Discomfort can be a good thing. A huge thank you to Ron, and I always wished I'd kind of run into him on the street sometime, and it never happened, but he was great. I always got a kick because he kind of looked like Sean Connery, so that was always kind of funny, growing up original James Bond fan. Well, he's not the original, but you know what I mean. Yeah, Megan, I mean, having a partner and a person at your side that truly supports you as an individual to do the growth and have the things and relationships and people outside of the relationship with just them is huge. So I credit my continued growth with the relationship that we've chosen to build and the way that we have built it in allowing that space for me as an individual that has my individual needs, and especially with things that she's not the answer to everything, and finding where those answers can be and allowing that freedom and flexibility to just live and love and go out to the world and then turn around and bring it back home.
Well, good luck to you. You brought some awareness to me today on some of the work you're doing, and I just want to wish you good luck and keep doing what you're doing. You got a great passion for, life, and you got a great passion for some things some people and places that need help, and you certainly, hopefully, have brought that awareness today. So thank you very much. On our next episode of Survive and Thrive 8791, we will have another amazing guest in the Buck and Honey's remote studios who will share how they learned to survive and thrive. If you have a story to share or you know someone who does, please reach out to me at tdecora@gmail.com. Until next time, hang in there with whatever you happen to be going through, and with hard work, dedication, and determination, you can survive and thrive. Until next time, take care.